Hey all, and welcome back to Slipstream. In this part we're going to be going on to the Emerald Cup, so if you're not too big on Groudon or Kyogre, then maybe Rayquaza's more to your taste, and given it's the Emerald Cup, let's try using the green car, Arashi. I don't know if these names are references to anything or not, they might be, they might not be. I will say I'm pretty uncultured, so a lot of the time references to things tend to go over my head unless it's like another video game or maybe an anime. But up first is Resort Islands, and I can't actually remember if that was the name of the level from Sonic R or not. I know there was like a resort kind of level, but it might be that, it might not be. I'm not sure, but I will say this is a new recording session after my disastrous Sapphire Cup run, so maybe whatever amateur curse I was under last time was corrupting me then. Maybe this will go a little bit better, I don't know. I say as I crash straight into a palm tree, but we'll see. I have some cool Eurobeat to keep me going, so with any luck I'll be able to pick myself back up. Obviously I did mention in the first part of the playthrough that the way the game's designed is it's designed that the other cars speed ahead of you, so I'm not too worried about the fact that I'm in 20th now, but I did have another bit of a practice last night, so maybe whatever was making me so rusty in the last part has worn off, but you never know. That's part of the fun of these live LPs, the fact that it's not necessarily gonna be a perfect run. Sometimes I am gonna have to just cut me losses and accept that I'm not as good at video games as I like to pass off. I joke about that, but that is honestly one of the reasons why I haven't done too much live stuff in the past. It's like, I like to, you know, show the best gameplay I can, and so when I'm forced to actually man up and play something live, it doesn't always work out too well. Also, I am feeling the fact that when you start a new race, like at the start of a Grand Prix, you don't have any of these speed upgrades. Because like this feels a lot clunkier in this first race than it did when I was doing my practice runs last night at some of the other tracks. Then again, that is something that it kind of is quite distinct from a lot of racing games in that respect, because it's usually the Grand Prix mode that you go to if you want to have everything, if you want to just plough through the races in a sort of casual setting, and it's normally like you go to a story mode or you go into some kind of competitive mode if you wanted to like have more of a challenge, have more of an unlock system or something. Something that I did pass over mentioning in the earlier parts is that although it's not really that huge of a feature, given the game's designed primarily as a single player experience, this game does have multiplayer. I did a little bit of digging around, and although I haven't dwelled with it myself, while I haven't got friends to try it out with myself, I did see some videos of some people playing this split screen, which that's pretty neat. Like, I don't know how fun of a multiplayer experience this would be compared to other kinds of races, given, you know, like with, I don't know how best to describe it. It feels very much like a single player arcade experience. But then again, that may be me and my loneliness talking there. I know this will date the video, but at the time of recording this, a lot of people are quarantined right now, so maybe more fun single player experiences are what people need at the moment, because having your friends over all gathered together, probably not the healthiest advice that I could give anyone. But yeah, this one, like with, I think it was the Metropolis track last time we saw him, this does also have all the imitation logos on the side. I want to get first. I don't want to have any more losses in this particular cup. But yeah, we've got the look-alike logos. Again, it's only really the Sega one that stands out to me, but then like anything Sega is going to stand out to me. I'm not entirely sure who picked these out. I know there was a Kickstarter. This game did get Kickstarter funding. As far as I recall, it was quite a modest asking price they had. I think it was about $6,000, and I think they got about 6,800 overall. So they got themselves funded, and they did a bloody good job with that. Like, that's quite a low development cost for a proper fancy game, at least compared to other stuff that I've seen. I may be wrong. But let's upgrade my speed. I'm going to prioritise speed where I can, just because I like to go fast. Yeah, that should do me for now. What we got next? Chemical plant. We're back to this again. But with the rain effects here, it's actually kind of reminding me more of, I believe the level's called Rainy Savannah from Sonic Drift 2, because that's a racing game level that has this kind of very simplistic rainy overlay effect. Because this particular effect, it's not the most convincing rain in the world, I will say that, but at the same time I don't think it's trying to be. I think it is just trying to give that kind of cartoony, well, like retro aesthetic rain. There's more implied rain than actual rain. I hope like all the chemicals here are covered up, so that's not too much of a problem. Though with the blue and red crates there on the side, this just making me think of, I forget what the song's called, but there was this music video for an Earth Tone 9 song where it's just the band performing in a sort of abandoned industrial kind of area with like brightly coloured crates like that, and of course you got like the girls dancing in them and whatnot. I think it was just the distinct red and blue ones, but that's a band that my good old media studies teacher introduced me to back when I was in school, and I like it a lot. Not everyone's music, but hey. I did actually find out about quite a lot of more obscure musicians from him. I ended up taking a liking to the band Future Left thanks to him as well, and by extension McCluskey. But yeah, like media studies in school was a trip. I did both AS and A2 media studies, and I got me AS and me A2 for like both of them. But yeah, we had one year we had to make like the intro to a film, and I remember a few of my classmates and I, a few of my friends and I, we did this scene that it was kind of a takeoff for like the In-Betweeners and them kind of teen lad comedy kind of things. We filmed the opening few minutes, and we were just outside of our school, just filmed this scene outside where the main character was just, or the three main characters were just downing what was supposed to be drink out of a wine bottle, and we probably looked like complete fucking hooligans. This was like during daytime hours, and we were filming three guys just downing drink out of a wine bottle. Like, I don't know how we got away with that really, because doing like that probably isn't giving the school the best image, because although we were in sixth form, so we weren't in uniform, we'd still quite clearly just come out of the school. So if people saw us wandering just outside school downing drink, then, you know, if there's any concerned old ladies wanting to write a letter in, they could easily have done that and had a point. But yeah, the second year we did a music video that, because of how I am and playing to every joke you can make about me, I directed a video of I Am All of Me, where I was the performer. I was filmed in the school media department sort of area that we had with my guitar, my trusty Black Knight guitar, and I was miming to the song with strobe lights going with a dark black filter over it, because, you know, I'm playing the actual thing entirely, and I sort of intertwined this little subplot about how I think it was meant to be like I was stalking someone or had beef with someone, and I actually got Stephen to play the character who I was having this conflict with, and we just went to the park one afternoon and just filmed a load of bullshit that just to entwine in between all the performance shots. It was a bit shit, I will say, but you know, we were fucking around, and we only had a cheap math camera to work with and everything, and I still passed, I still did alright. But yeah, I got back to the game. I did get 2 first places down, so I just hope that I can keep this up. I'm sort of a bit more balanced out, and here is Valley of the Kings. And this track, I will say, this one, it's not inspired by a Sonic level, it's a much more original one, but it's a really cool area. Like, look at that in the background. I feel like they're trying to go for a more mythical kind of thing, like maybe, well, maybe not mythical, but like a kind of, I want to say ancient Egypt kind of thing, when you think of like the desert area with the kings and that, but they don't actually have any pyramids to what I recall, so maybe it's something inspired by that, although those statues around the edge of the track do look Egyptian inspired. So maybe they are just sort of mixing and matching a little bit, which is cool. But yeah, I will say it is a little bit trippy when I'm going around the corners there, and I don't know whether it's deliberately trying to take on the effect that some Mega Drive games have, where the background scrolls at a different speed to the foreground, but that's what's going on there. Like, if you see, the areas to the side of the track are going much slower than the steps and the mountain region in the background. So it's a cool effect in gameplay, but as soon as you take your eyes back a little bit, when you're on a straight like here and you're not paying close attention to the track and you look at it, then it gets a little bit trippy. And I really need to get better at taking these turns. Come on. I was getting so good at this during my practice session last night, but now I'm back with the recording going, and yeah, all illusion of skill has gone completely out the window. I'm gonna blame the car. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. I haven't used this car in a long time. Nah, I'm not that much of a scrub. It is me fucking up, but I usually go to the blue car when I'm just playing this casually. Those ended up being my go-to, either that or the red one. Because the red one, when you're just playing single races and that seems to have the most speed, at least from what I remember. So with my kind of play style of just keep going even if you crash into everything in the process, that's probably the best pick. Well, I need to get better at like picking up the slipstream as I'm going around the corner, because I can do it when I'm in a straight, but going around the corner I don't really do the best job of keeping behind them, and I am in 7th even though we're on the 4th lap, so I really should try and pick myself up a little bit here. Because like the first few laps you can sort of just play it by ear and see what happens, but once you get to the 4th lap, that's when you need to try and start overtaking people seriously. Or tail them. Alright, that seems to be the part where I have the most difficulty because these turns are so sharp. God, I'm just soaking in the music right now. It's so fucking good. Like, I've gushed about this enough over the last couple of parts, but just if you were gonna pick any kind of music direction, like any kind of genre of music to go with for this kind of game, they have hit the nail on the head, really. So I'm trying to think, I've mentioned that maybe a more strict Eurobeat direction could also work, but I guess if they were to maybe go with a more butt rock kind of thing, that could potentially work too. Like if you got your Crush 40 kind of thing going on, I'd say that would probably work best for a more like I associate that kind of music with stuff like Daytona and that, where although it's still a very arcadey game style, the look of it is more, I guess, realistic. It's like 90s era realism, but it's more realism than Slipstream is. So like, yeah, if you're going with a butt rock kind of music style, that could work, but for what we've got here, this works really well. Let's boost the acceleration, because I haven't done that much. And I've got just enough for another engine upgrade. That actually worked out quite nicely. So next up is Neon City. This track looks really cool. I'm saying that about basically every track I know, but with an art direction this solid, like, what else can I do? This, again, it sort of looks like the first track, but at night. But you've got the whole nightlife thing going on. You've got the almost Casino Night-ish, and I don't mean Casino Night from Sonic 2 because that had more purples in place of blacks, but this seems more like the Sonic Drift take on Casino Night, because that had a much darker kind of colour scheme, and it actually worked for the better for it, I think, at least. And I do like Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2. So I remember when we were doing that in the Retrothon, I actually picked them games out as a joke. I was thinking like, well, we're doing Mario Kart, but let's kind of balance that with a Sonic Racer as well, and a retro Sonic Racer, that'd be Sonic Drift. But when I played the games back to back, I actually realised that I preferred Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2 over Mario Kart 64 because they just control a lot better. And the bias there is possibly because I was playing that emulated on my big screen with a PlayStation controller, so it's not like I had to worry about the Game Gear's tiny little controls. So maybe if I were playing on hardware I might have thought differently, but Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2 have aged pretty well for racers, whereas Mario Kart 64, although I still do like Mario Kart, I like certain elements of that game and some of the courses that it brought to the table, the controls, they've kind of aged like milk, if I'm being honest. Which, that's not necessarily a bad thing when you consider how far the Mario Kart series has come, because Mario Kart 8 is perfect as far as controls go. Like, I don't really think they could do much to improve it beyond what's already there now. The Wii U version controlled great, and if you've got a good controller for the Switch, that's great there as well. Admittedly, I'm not that big on the Joy-Cons, so if you're trying to use the Joy-Cons or that little Joy-Con grip thing that they give you with the system, it's not that great. Although now I do have one of the bullshit expensive Pro controllers that they do for it now. I should probably go back to 8 Deluxe and see how I feel about that. I wish Nintendo would go back to making good controllers, because the Wii U had the Pro Controller, which is a genuinely fantastic controller, but there weren't that many games that you could make good use of it with. But the Switch now, which has a much bigger library with a lot of games coming out, the Pro Controller, it's not as good. Like, it's expensive for a start. I think it costs like 60 quid. I think I managed to get mine slightly discounted, but even then it was still a bit of a burn. But, you know, like, the D-pad has issues, even the ones that they've slightly improved them. They're still not perfect. And it's like, Nintendo used to be so good at this. Like, I still have my 17-year-old GameCube controller that I got with a system that works fantastically. Like, I have that, and I recently got one of the reissued GameCube controllers, one of the Smash ones, and they feel as good as each other. It's like my old one hasn't aged a day, other than like the triggers being a little bit softer, but then you kind of expect that. But like, they kind of haven't matched that same build quality. It's not even the design of it, because the design of the Pro Controller is great, but it's just not built as solidly. But where am I overall now? 40 points. I'm doing okay. I wonder if I can get a 50 here. I would love to get a 50 here, if I'm being honest. I don't have enough money for further upgrades, but that'll do. Parthenon. If that's how you pronounce it, I don't know if it is. This one, I'll say, not the most memorable of tracks in the game. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does kind of feel a little bit of a halfway point between the Valley of the Kings, because of that similar structure in the background, and Marble Garden. This shrubbery around the edge of the course here, this is new, but other than that, it does feel like a mishmash. And then you've got like the watery ocean spilling on the side, which some of the other courses have had as well. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I do realise that when you've got 16 tracks, actually I think it's a lot more than that. I just pulled a number out of my arse, so I was thinking of other racing games, but no, this has got, I think this has got 20 actually, because there's the 4 cups with 5 races each, so yeah, that would be, they've got 20 tracks here. I realise that when you've got 20 tracks, they're not always going to be completely unique, and there is going to be a bit of a crossover. But the fact that they're as unique as they are is still kind of impressive. Because I think of things like Team Sonic Racing, which as much as I do enjoy that game, they've only got a small handful of different track themes, and they just sort of tweak a few assets here and there to try and make them look slightly distinct. They're not all completely different courses, which was a little bit disappointing with that game compared to, like, say, All Stars Racing Transformed, which had all kinds of different tracks going on, but I imagine it was a lower budget game or something. Like, it felt lower budget, and it probably didn't have as long of a development cycle as well, which is a shame. But I did do a whole playthrough of that game, at least the GPs, so I feel like I've covered the ground I need to cover there. Okay, so 11th on the 3rd lap, and I've got a couple of beasts waiting to be overtaken here, so let's try and keep myself ahead. In the last race, I did actually get ahead by the 4th lap, which gave me that little bit of security. This time around, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but we'll see. Fuck. Okay, I need to pick it up a little bit. No, like, I feel like if I were to not get first here, it would be more disappointing than in the last cup where I was failing all over the place, and that's just because I don't really like that imperfect thing. Like, I don't like getting mostly perfect but then one fuck up. That kind of feels more insulting to me than just doing average in all of them. I don't know, like, my brain's a bit fucked like that. Bollocks. This might be where I fuck up. I might have cursed myself. So I've noticed it's normally toward the end of the parts, that's where I'll get a little bit less chatty and a little bit more concentration-y, just because that's where it's like time to get real now, time to try and pick up the pace. Okay, well, if I can get past these, then that will be a nice little boost. Okay, let's try and hold on to the slipstream. Go around here. Right, where's the third? There's the second place one. Fuck! I've probably blown it for myself. Yeah. Oh well. I did better than I did in the Sapphire Cup at least, so I can take some kind of solace in that. And I came first overall, so yeah, could have been worse, but still. It's incomplete. I didn't win. That's me, first place. But, ladies and gentlemen, join me next time where I'll be going into the Diamond Cup. See you then.